Hi guys and welcome to the show. This is my first time here and I think I need some bells. Okay, so this is my first ever video podcast and I'm so happy about it. I'm so happy that I got to find out about Riverside FM. I was so happy when my Spotify podcast app, Spotify Spotify for podcasters, they just notified me that from April, I think from April, they would start redirecting. You will not be able to record with a Spotify for podcasters, and you would be always directed to Riverside FM. I was like, wait, let me go read about Riverside. And I went and I realized that it can be used for both video podcasts and audio podcasts, and I was like so happy. I was like, damn, finally I can now start my video podcasts. Okay, so this podcast is going to be about books, analyzing books, my thoughts on those books that I've read, my thoughts on those books, and if I agree with the author's theory or not. And I have a few books on my read list that I want to read, some that I've read, or one that I've read. Actually, how all this started was when one time I'm currently serving, and we do community development service meetings every Thursday. So this time we were thinking about what we're going to do for the community, what we can do, how we can carry out outreaches to these communities, how we can affect or influence these communities positively. And I thought about it. I really didn't have any idea what we were going to do. I thought about it. I was like, Rachel, I'm sitting to think and I'm not getting anything. I'm like really empty. And I just realized that I really need to go on this journey of self-development because I've not really been taking it so seriously. I've just been living my life, things that I know I come across by chance. If I come across anything interesting, I read it, but I've not really been intentional about my reading. So I was just like, okay, maybe I can just start. So that day when I got home, I was like, I can actually just search for books to read. So I went straight ahead to my Snapchat AI and I was like, hey, just recommend self-development books for me. And there was like a whole list of books, but then one caught my attention. That was The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. And I was so happy about that book because I was like, okay, how Snapchat AI described it was that it's like a novel-like book that, teaches you some lessons about life and stuff. I was like, okay, this is good for a start because if I start reading books on self-development, I know that sometimes I get bored when I read books that are uninteresting to me, and sometimes these self-development books can become uninteresting to me. There's one book that I was reading, Eat That Frog. I was reading this book, but eventually I abandoned it. I still have it on my phone, the soft copy, but the reason I abandoned it was because I saw that I don't exactly have the things I need to follow up with that book because of course I have some things, milestones that I want to achieve, but at the moment I'm unable to because of some conditions. So if I'm reading that book, it's just probably going to, because I like when I'm reading, I'm acting it out, and I don't just read and then it goes away. I read, and when I read, I like to read and act on what I read immediately. So it's like, okay, I should just leave this for now. So that's why I said, okay, let me just start from the novel. So when I went online to search for it, I was looking for where I can get the soft copy of The Alchemist. Different places I was seeing where I have to buy it, and I was really not in that financial condition to buy it. So I kept on searching. Then I came across Go Reads. Yeah, because I also wanted to see a preview of the entire book, not just what Snapchat AI told me, because sometimes you can sugarcoat things. You never know. So I went ahead and I saw the site Go Reads. So I clicked on it and I saw a preview of the book, and it was quite interesting. It was like the introduction. It was like, okay, this is nice. They kept talking about Santiago, and I was like, okay, that name sounds interesting. So I was like, nice and good, clean. Let's go ahead. So I went ahead. I realized that I could not get it from that site, but I really loved it. And while I was going through some other books, because there are just like a ton of books on that site that you can be interested in, you can add to your read list. So I saw The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Yes, I saw it and I was like, nice, nice. I've been hearing lots of things about that book and people say it's funny, it's interesting, blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay, I can add that to my read list. But when I saw that, I was like, damn, I feel like reading this one first. I feel like reading this one first. But I was like, no, let me start with the one I saw first because I know myself very well. If I decide to start with that one, I'm definitely abandoning the other. So I just went ahead, downloaded both of the books, soft copies of both of the books, and I started with The Alchemist. And yes, it has been a whole wonderful journey. The book was so interesting. I loved it. Like, I learned crazy ass stuff from it, and it's really nice. I actually took out some time because I wanted to try a new method of reading since I know I procrastinate a lot and I get bored. I lose interest in things very easily. So I thought about it. How can I actually enjoy reading this book? How? So I decided, since I love talking, I'm someone who loves talking. I have a podcast, but yes, I have a podcast, but it's not about books. It's educational, right? Language learning on Wow FM. So you can go and check it out. Learn a new language with Raychel. That's the podcast on Wow FM. You can download Wow FM from your Play Store. Yes. So I thought about it. I was like, maybe I can just do this. I can read the book and then analyze it and later listen to it. That's how I learn personally. So I read, analyze, I record, I listen to myself talk, and that's basically just what it worked out very well for me. It's been working out so well for me throughout my reading journey, and I love it so much. So I decided that was how I was going to read The Alchemist, and it was too lovely. Although where I actually did the recordings was for the introduction and the prologue. I did not do that. My phone for full. So I decided that, okay, let me know. Maybe later on I can do a whole summary of the book on the podcast. But I cannot, like, every single chapter of the book, every single part of the book, because it's divided into two parts. Part 1, part 2, and then the epilogue. And it was so nice, actually. But then I cannot do every single section of the book. I will now be recording Kini. It worked out fine, and I loved it. So when I did my first recording of the book, I enjoyed it so much. I did the introduction part, how Paulo came about writing, his whole writing journey, the persons who saw his book and how he felt like it was such a dream, how he overcame various obstacles in his life. He mentioned 4, and how he talked about falling 7 times and getting up 8 times. Wow, it was nice. But that is going to be something that I'm going to do in the next episode of this podcast. This is like just an introduction stuff to tell you guys what exactly this podcast is going to be about. So this is the first series of the podcast, analysis of the book The Alchemist by Raychel. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I hope you come back for the next episode because you don't want to miss what I think about this book. You don't want to miss this book. And if you feel like you don't have that energy to read the book, because some people don't like reading, some people like to listen to stuff, so I'm here for you. When you listen to my podcast, when you listen to this podcast, it's definitely going to be like you are reading the book. Not reading, watching, because when you watch something, it's actually more interesting. So it's going to be like you are watching this book, like it's a whole movie. It's going to create this whole scene in your head, and you're going to enjoy it so beautifully. So don't forget to subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. Because this is going to be a wonderful and beautiful journey for both of us. You're going to enjoy it. Thank you so much, guys, for listening, and I can't wait for the next episode of this, and I'm so happy that I was able to do this. I was able to start. Please don't let this flop, guys. Thank you guys so much. And I am your favorite girl. I remain your favorite girl, Rachel. Bye. Have a beautiful time.